21st, 2023, August 22nd, 2023.
Make a motion that we approve the warrants as listed.
I'll second.
Motion made by Nathan and seconded by Matt. Roll call vote.
Mr. Buteau?
Vice Chair votes yes.
Secretary votes yes, Madam Chair.
I vote yes.
Voting in affirmative.
Next item on the agenda is comments from the public. If you wish to address the board, please state your name and your address. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the club positions of chess and chorus.
In your packet, you have the rationale from Principal Fota on 2 additional stipended positions for the chess club advisor and the chorus club advisor. Both of these clubs have been happening this past year, unpaid. Chorus used to be during the day, and it was switched to after school due to scheduling conflicts. The chess club started last year by 2 staff members and has a huge following. So we would like to add them to the indexed positions. It would be 0.18 on the BEA index, which for the next year amounts to, I believe it's $750. And you're getting a bang for your buck there. So we'll need approval to add those 2 positions.
I'll make a motion to accept both positions for the chess club and for the chorus club.
Second.
Motion made by Matt and seconded by Nathan. All those in favor?
Aye.
No, it's money. You'll have to have a roll call.
Mr. Buteau?
Vice Chair votes yes.
Secretary votes yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
All voting in affirmative.
Next item on the agenda is the approve of the faculty manuals. Yes, and thank you all so much for those.
Thank you for reading through them.
You're welcome.
We as an administrative team had decided that it would be a good project for this year, but they've already worked out manuals and they worked together, the 2 schools did, so there's consistency amongst the manuals. And with that, because it needed to get to you last Friday, they were still fixing a couple things, so there's a list, I believe the middle high school provided you with some edits. And it is a policy that all manuals must be approved by the board, so we need your approval for those. Do you have any questions? I know it was a lot of reading. They're basically policy with a little bit of
Yes.
procedure put
Well,
in
that's the
them.
one thing that it's a lot of the board, so.
For the the admin team for Berlin Middle High School, I'm assuming this might be a stupid question, but all the new administrators were involved in the conversation, had an opportunity to contribute.
They put this together.
Excellent, thank you.
What a great way to learn.
Absolutely. I learned a lot too.
Okay, Sandy had a couple edits as well.
I just wanted to summarize our edits. I didn't feel they were worth writing on paper.
We'll write these right down.
Okay, I updated all the
Absolutely.
policies appropriate to any of our manuals. I updated the staff names, the dates as they applied. The one change that we did make was in the evaluation of staff section. There was a 3-day turnaround. We took that out. We appreciate the timeliness and the desire to be timely, but that 3-day number was not in any board policy, so we did remove that because sometimes it is a couple more days than that, to be quite honest. And the only other revision we'll be waiting on is tonight, as you approve the lunch pricing, we'll adjust that appropriately after your meeting.
We all felt it was good for each staff member to have everything in a format that everything is at their fingertips.
I'll make a motion that we approve the faculty manuals. Seconded.
Motion made by Nathan and seconded by Eamon. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the revised BMHS and BES student manuals.
Okay, you approved those back in May.
Yes.
These are just the revisions due to updates and mostly names and prices,
Time.
that sort of thing.
Time,
Yep.
yeah, your
We
time.
adjusted our date by 5 minutes.
Yes,
so.
yeah, I
Yes,
noticed that.
scheduling change. The only substantial change, the new administrative team, this was something that teachers undertook in the middle school with a grading policy. This new administrative group met and proposed the change that you see here, which has to do with the minimum grade of 57. If you have questions, I think Andy can explain that a little bit better, what they're wishing to do.
I didn't have any questions. I was wondering, at first I was thinking that, I was hoping it would stay at 57 for many reasons, but then after reading some feedback, and the next one made complete sense. But at first I was like, oh, I don't want that to go away. And they did good work. They surveyed, I believe, staff, got some input, so I appreciate that.
Is there anything else that stood out?
Well, I think it's good that we're revising it yearly anyways, because of just things are happening, changes around us. So it's important to take care of every year, take a look at, and make sure it's up to date on many levels versus just times. There may be some other gray areas as time goes on and things change, so I appreciate that as well. Do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the revised Berlin Middle High School and Berlin Elementary School student manuals.
Second.
Motion made by Matt and seconded by Nathan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, move on. The next item on the agenda is approval of the Title I part-time interventionists.
Yeah, so Karen Moore couldn't be here tonight, but the Title I part-time interventionist is basically, as she did out the budget with the allocated funds, there was enough additional to bring in a part-time position, which is not a board-approved position right now. We do have, I believe it's a part-time, but it's a para position. This would be a teaching position.
And this replacing Patty Weathers, I'm assuming.
Yes, it is an additional
Yeah,
person
Yeah.
to bring in. It could very well be Patty.
yeah, well, that's the position she
Yeah.
held, so,
Right.
yeah,
But we're not adding a position.
no, well, not really.
This is an additional part-time position. I believe last year she was considered full-time.
So last year, it was a part-time position. They originally posted it for a full-time position, but had no interest.
Right,
So it was posted as a part-time position and filled, so it was just one position. So this year, you had approved the full-time position of,
The one that Tracy King fills
yes,
Yes.
was the replacement
for
for
that
that
part-time.
position.
So that changed to full-time in that replacement, which this would be now a new position. So you would have 1.5 positions for that.
but it's
type.
part-time.
Right, so you'd have one full-time, one part-time.
An interventionist. Is that what
Pure
she's doing?
interventionist,
Pure,
yeah.
okay, all right.
What do you mean by pure?
Well, meaning that
That's
she's
all
not gonna
she's
have
doing.
anything else to do except for interventions. Okay, nothing besides that, correct? Okay. All right, I'm okay with that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Title I part-time interventions.
I'll second.
Motion made by Nathan and seconded by Matt. We'll need a roll call.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Buteau?
Vice Chair votes yes.
Secretary votes yes, Madam Chair?
Yes.
All voting in the affirmative.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of AC-E.
This policy comes to the board each year for approval. It's just an update for the Title IX. I guess contact information and who's holding that roles, which then goes up on our website for anybody looking for information, who to contact. So it's very timely, as we did have a change from Martha to Jason this year. And there was another change that we caught with one of the Office of Civil Rights email address. I believe that's what it was, Karen? Yeah. So we'll just need your approval for the policy update.
Motion to approve policy update. ECE.
Second.
Okay, the motion was made by Eamon and seconded by Nathan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Next item on the agenda is the food service report and approval for FY '24 meal prices.
I'll let you take this one.
Sure, so, you have the school year food service report, that was submitted to you. The food service program had an 8% increase in operating expenses for the fiscal year, school year 2023. The program continues to be self-supporting and ended the year with a positive balance of $391,000 plus. The amount does include a federal allocation of $63,000 to offset the food supply chain and the cost of goods. So we are required to charge on an average as much for paid meals as it receives in reimbursements for the free lunch program. We haven't had an increase in the lunch program since 2018. So it's our recommendation from the administration to increase the meal cost by 20 cents and the milk prices to remain the same for the 24 school year. So we ask the board to make a motion to approve the increase as presented on the food service report. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Can you, so the 20% increase, is that just to keep in track with the increases of the costs?
Yeah, so we have a food calculator that you'll see, it's a PEL tool that was included, so, it came up to 56 cents per meal, that's what they're suggesting. We only have to raise the food prices by 10 cents, but we felt the 20 cent was adequate, seeing we haven't had an increase since 2018. So next year, when we revisit that, the maximum amount that we have to increase it by is 10 cents per year. But we felt the 20 cents was a good starting point this year to see where we end the year. Overall, the food services program did have a loss by about $4,200, but they carry forward a balance every year. So with the carry forward from last year and the federal reimbursements that we've received, that's why the carry forward is so high, is because with COVID, all the meals were free and we received a lot of, every child was free. So that reimbursement really helped. And the cost of the program from COVID for 2 years, you know, with staffing and everything else that goes along with that. So it does have a healthy balance right now, but they did take a small loss overall without including that $63,000 federal allocation.
I heard you say the maximum you can increase is 10 cents. I think you meant minimum.
Yes, I'm sorry, the minimum.
I was gonna say, we could lose a lot of money if we had to save 10 cents for the next 20 years. Okay,
so we'd still be 37 cents below what was recommended by the formula.
Yes,
And so the plan would be to do 20 cents this year and then evaluate possibly doing another 10
Correct.
cents next year.
and that depends on where the numbers come in for next year, where we end.
It's only 20 cents, but when it comes to cost for meals and the expense for families, I'm a little reluctant But what you're saying makes sense. And it's not a lot of money, but at a time now where there's so much need, every penny can help. Not that I disagree, but just wanted to throw that out there. But what you're saying makes sense, and I appreciate it.
We do continue to provide families with any assistance we can and helping them with the, reduced application. We did have a lot of success when we did reach out to families, so.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the 20-cent increase to the
Second.
meal formula.
Motion made by Nathan and seconded by Nathan. Roll call.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Vito,
Vice Chair votes no.
Secretary votes yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would just add that, along the lines of what was just said, I did receive a call from, my goodness, I don't remember what district it was, but someplace down south. The chair of the school board called to ask what was our magic formula, because we were on the list of great improvements to the numbers of free and reduced lunch applications that we went out and sought.
I was
And
just
their
gonna say.
district is struggling to get that number up. As you know, most of our state aid is based on free and reduced lunch percentages, so that number's a big deal.
Yes, it
So
is.
I told her what our strategies were and how hard administrators worked
You
to
guys
make phone
really
calls
did
home
last
Yeah.
year.
and get those applications in.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Kudos to all
the
of us.
families that are in, dire need would get free lunch. Okay? I mean, overall, so, and the others, reduced if they will fill in the paperwork and stuff like that.
It just might be the 25 years in human services that I just feel for families, and I think there's a lot of support for people who need a lot of support. And I think there's some support for people who need some, but there's a group of people that don't receive anything or receive very little. This is a matter of 20 cents, so I'm not
Yeah.
oblivious to that. That's just something for me that I
Yeah.
believe in.
Yeah, okay.
And I hear you.
Yes.
and
Because we want our students to eat.
There's such thing as middle class poor,
Yeah.
and those are the families that aren't eligible for services but don't have the extra money, and that's hard, a hard place to be in.
Mhm. Next item.
Oh, you have a motion on the table, you need a roll call?
No, we did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, 3-1. That was 4-1. and-
sorry.
3-1.
3-1.
3-1, yes. Okay.
All right, next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
All right. First thing on my list is the legislative updates. So there are quite a few. Some are still, the wheels are still spinning on them as they're waiting for governor's signature. I'm not sure where that stands. But of all of the education changes, there's a few that impact us directly, so I just wanted to point those out and let you know that we are working on them,
Mhm.
or in some cases, waiting for interpretation. Such as SB 179, the bill prohibits the use of seclusion as a form of punishment or discipline on children in schools and treatment facilities. That one caught the DOE by surprise. It was thrown out there, and so the DOE is still working on what exactly that interpretation is to put forward a technical advisory for schools. So we're waiting to hear on that. Let's see, another one. HB 170, that requires school boards to ensure that schools teach versus handwriting and the memorization of multiplication tables prior to the 5th grade. So we on that this summer as well. Make sure that you have the materials needed and that it's included in the teacher's schedule.
And training for staff, because some of our staff are young enough and have not been lucky enough to have the experience, so we will be working with them as well. Yep,
Yeah, it's true.
yes,
Yeah.
yep, we're very, and they're taking it as they can, and they're willing to learn as always. So we will,
Sounds like Ann's volunteering.
I'm there for you. Call me, I'm
not
there.
the Palmer method, we're, but, yeah, a little bit of everything back there. That's what we did.
You know, some of these bills are voted on and then start right away, so it's a scramble
Being
sometimes.
able to react and materials weren't budgeted for because in October, we did something.
There's another one, HB 365, maintained here, so that's good. Has to do with, permanent facilities plans, for the DOE, but then it will recommend, not require, that the school district provide a bill for a long-range capital improvement plan. So that means that there is good shape, you know, that we have, alpha. In public indication of reading control. So, a few little changes there. That is, language has been passed along to Karen Moore, to the administration at the elementary school, and I know they're working on that. And I think that was about it. And there is another one, HB 654, which did extend the emergency hire eligibility to 2 years. When you're hiring somebody who does not have the eligibility to get a statement of eligibility or a certification from the DOE. So that emergency authorization covers a person, allows you to hire a person to teach something in an emergency situation, and they're granted one per lifetime. Now they've extended it to 2 years. They must be back to back. They must be consecutive years in the same position. Little update on school opening. You are all invited to the district opening breakfast on the 29th at 7:30 here in the town. New staff orientation will be held next week. And then student orientations and meet the teacher are set for the 30th. And opening info is scheduled. I get that here around the teacher PD and the policies that go in for training for the global compliance network. And administrators, we all met last week. Yes, for training. The first year, we implemented or implemented instructional team leaders. So it was 2 times we kind of change in leadership. checking over what was, where at with their work with the curriculum, the assessments, what their needs were, and assessing the following as peer leaders, teacher leaders, with resistance, personalities, situations. And we're still going. These are good.
We've already this, but we're meant every new teacher. I'm asking even just finding out like again.
Yeah, so I'll stay from our either by grade level or by department, subject area here at the high school. And instructional team leader is the leader of that group, and in terms of mentoring anybody new that comes into that group. So grade 2 teacher that's new, and grade 1 or 2 teacher. That PLC is comprised of K to 12, all of what we call student support people. So it's guidance counselors and the behavior support teachers. They're all in one PLC. So it's Trista Bruns that is the instructional team leader there. So she's the mentor. The difficulty there is that 2 separate buildings. But yes, they do have a mentor and someone they can use. As well, I would just like to say that new administrators all have been assigned a mentor through the New Hampshire Association of School Principals. I reached out to Holly, I think she's very quick and lining them up with a mentor, and I've been in contact. Some of them are even at meetings thus far. As well as the director, that remains through a new company that is positioned as Black Education as a special ed director, and a former principal to come in and consult with the business. So, that into a grant, and Jason has been taking advantage of that to share the mentor from the American community. She's very good. Administrative training, we've been continuing to meet, so we're working on everything. Yes. Any of the elementary school, and the curriculum and focus sequence, working with the IPM on the curriculum in schools. We as an admin team have worked with the IPM on the district goals, we met as a group and edited those, brought them to the IPM, the IPM with their PLCs and their kernel things, and then finalized those goals. As well, we're putting in a monitoring, progress monitoring system and measurement. And the team from both schools who participated in our last conference there's obviously a lot of teams and they're able to look at their MTS system that they'll be rolling out with their schools this year. So that really gave them a good head start. Seemed like we enjoyed it. Today with superintendent Talk about what we meant for each different rating, with the idea that we all need a common understanding, and we're gonna continue to work on that with Brian throughout this year, making sure we're all on the same page. Building projects, of course, and we've had some more DOE monitoring and end of the year financials as well. Administrators, thank you Sandy for taking the lead, and Andy on this one, Sandy and Andy. Culture and climate survey that we plan to administer throughout this year. I just wanted to make you aware also that I had a request and the funds were there, so we have added a second coach for 2 middle school teams, athletic teams. If I remember right, one was a girls soccer
And girls field hockey.
and girls field hockey. They had a high number of participants and one coach they did not feel was enough. They were the only 2 teams with only one coach. So we added a stipended position there for the athletics.
Can I just ask you a quick question? So refresh my memory, 6th, 7th, and 8th for middle school soccer and field hockey?
Yes.
Okay. And there were 2 coaches each for boys soccer, or 2 coaches for boys soccer? Now we have 2 for field hockey and 2 for girls soccer.
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
It was already a position
Yeah.
and a stipend.
Mhm.
We added a second one.
Thank you.
I wanted to give you an update too on the Clarkson Mountain Foundation grants. Hot Diggity Dogs. So this grant project started, I think my first year as super. The Clarkson Mountain House closed and they made it a goal with the funds to reach out to public schools and offer a grant system which they could help wherever needed for special education. So Martha Miller had put in, I think the first year, and again the second year. And one of the proposals she wrote was for the students here at the middle high school to further their work with their practicing the skills of service and sales. So along with their Biddy and Bo's coffee shop, which they run here, and their cafe, they added on a hot dog cart, which attended the farmer's market in Gorham this summer on a few occasions. For the first trip down, they had ordered supplies which they thought would last for the year. They totally sold out on their first trip at the farmer's market, and we're super proud of them and of the staff members working with that. So that's ongoing. You may see them around at different events. So Hot Diggity Dogs is the name that was finally decided upon. There were many good names thrown out there, but that one. Also, the restroom project at the elementary school is to make those restrooms accessible. That also is coming from funding from the Clarkson Mountain Foundation, as well as an extension of the Biddy and Bo's coffee service here at the middle high school. It's been extended to the elementary level where they are serving coffee to staff. So it's a great program to teach some good functional work skills to students.
It's not served to the kids though, right?
Not to the children. Serving to staff. I also wanted to update you on, you had a letter in your packet from Anne Marie Gagne, which you recognize that name. So she did leave us, unfortunately, but her job, she's still going to be working with our people. Through the North Country Health Consortium, through a grant project that they are running with SEL services for schools in the North Country. So we're quite pleased that, something that I was looking for money for was a request from the elementary school to continue a Class Catalyst subscription, which is an online check-in program for emotional regulation for students. And it was being used by quite a few students at the elementary school level, and I believe maybe some here at the middle school level. That program, we missed putting it in the budget because it was funded by a grant last year. This new grant through the Health Consortium is providing that free to schools for next year, so that's awesome. They are also sending Anne Marie to do trainings with any groups that want training on SEL practices. So she will be coming to the new staff orientation next week. We're looking at bringing bus drivers, any custodians who wish to attend, and the ASP program workers these are the groups of people that when we train, it's usually teachers and paras.
Good call.
We don't always have the funds to bring them in outside of school hours. I did write into a grant to bring any in that would like to come to this training, so we're working on that, and Anne Marie will be providing the training for free. 2 hours of training on conscious discipline, building connections with students, all things that, those hourly staff, that'll be great for them to have.
Absolutely.
So
So this is at no cost to us.
no cost.
Are there any other responsibilities of teachers or administration, like the reporting anything, or any paperwork that we have to do, any data that we have to report back to the consortium?
I didn't even know they were applying for that grant,
All right.
so no.
Sometimes that
It's
happens
on
when we
there.
get this, the next thing you know, we have our
Correct.
administrative staff doing more things for the consortium's numbers, and that gets a little tricky for me.
You are exactly right, and we've talked a lot about that lately. A lot of new grants come our way with a list of strings and hoops, and, we are used to taking in every penny that we can, and we do want to do that, but sometimes, your plates get so full that you have to balance whether it's worth the money or not, because you have to add additional staff to be able to take in $300 or $9,000 or whatever the amount is when the plates are already full. Building and grounds update. Brian,
Okay.
your turn.
I'll try to move this along. I think I've got everything in here. I'll start with the Marston Playground, because that was weighing heavy on my mind for a while now. And we got that paved on Monday around the perimeter of the wall. We have the chain link fencing up. We're working on getting all of the tie straps put on that to hold the fencing to the new posts. And we have a black plastic insert that goes in along the fencing. So if you go by the waterworks and you look at the fence there, it will look like that when we're done. And the purpose of that wasn't for privacy, it was to keep the playground bark in. I don't know if you noticed over the years, the playground bark gets spread out all over the place. So we have 97 yards of playground bark arriving Monday, and over the course of Monday and Tuesday of next week, we'll get that spread out in the playground, 10 inches thick. And we won't have time to get that black plastic in, so we'll see before and after. We're hoping that having done it the way we did, it'll stay inside and not end up out all over the street and down the wall and everywhere. So that should be done, complete, at least with the exception of that screening, by the end of next week. The restroom renovations that Julie was just talking about, the tile has arrived, and they are going to start on Monday installing the new tile. That will be done by the end of next week, so that all the tile will be in, the porcelain fixtures, all the plumbing fixtures will be in. The divider stalls, there's a lag in those right now, there's a little bit of a delay. We won't be getting those until about the third week in September. second to third week in September, those will be in. I'll let the building principal know, and we'll just use the other restrooms until that is done, but that should be done mid-September. We're also working on installing new boilers, as you know, in both schools, and in order to do that, we need to install chimney liners required for new installation. I had a company come up that installs the chimney liners. They did their assessment of it, initial assessment, and what we found was the chimney is too small on the inside to accept the liners with the flanges and everything the way they go in. And they have to be of a certain size for drafting of the boilers. I discussed this issue with our engineers because they threw out different options. There was one option where they would just cut another hole in the roof, attach an insulated chimney liner to the outside of the existing chimney and use that as support and run that up. Aesthetically, it wouldn't look very good. The cost of cutting open the roof. Another option is to have a mechanical assist draft that runs in conjunction with the boilers and have a smaller lining installed. If there's any maintenance issues, if for some reason the draft equipment shuts down, it shuts the boilers down. The engineers, the installers, and after listening to all the explanations, myself recommend they remove the fire brick, the layers of fire brick inside the chimney. You have your regular brick, then there's an air space, and then the fire brick on the inside. So what they do literally is they send a man down and he breaks away that brick, which falls down to the bottom, and they use the cleanout and they remove it. That would make the chimneys large enough to accept rightly sized liner in both chimneys, the high school and the elementary school. You wouldn't need any mechanical device to assist with the draft. So next week, the next step in this, Apex Chimney Company will be up. They're sending a man down before we can fire up the boilers. They send a man down. They actually do a complete inspection on the inside of the chimney. They work at removing some of the brick to see how it's going to come out. That helps them in giving us a bid, a quote for what it will cost to remove the bricks. With that, once we get assurances from Apex that yes, we'll take the liners out, we can do that, here's the cost. The company that builds the liners can then build the liner for us so that we can proceed and be ready for next spring. So that's where we're at with the chimney liners. The boilers themselves, within the next couple of weeks, I should have the designs for that. They're actually, Ray Goodrow mentioned this to the engineers. A lot of schools have multiple smaller boilers in series where one boiler will fire up and can say handle the hot water for this whole high school, just the hot water. As it gets cooler in the fall, a second boiler comes online and fires up. When you get into the heart of the heating season, you have a whole row of boilers running, and they go up and they go down according to the outside temperature. Right now, we just have two large boilers, each of which can heat the entire building in the winter. So what we do to save oil and save money is we lower the water temperature. In the winter, we set the boilers to have 180-degree water temperature at all times, so it can heat the buildings quicker. In the summer and spring and fall, the water temperature goes to 160, less energy. This is even more efficient because you bring that down to even smaller boilers. So we're waiting to see what the design work will look like on that. I should have that within a couple of weeks, I was assured by Pearson and Associates that work for Dubois and King. The art room divider wall, that's in progress right now down here. And that should be done by the end of next week. It's gone up quick. I was nervous again about getting that done. Everything seems to be coming in these last few weeks, but they're putting the sheetrock up now. The wiring was done for additional outlets and additional switches, three-way switches, so you can turn the lights on in the room when you enter through the new doorway that's going in. The asbestos abatement work on the top floor here, that's completed. The installation is complete. In room 603, when we needed to do that, there used to be a science lab in there, and they had cabinets all along the walls, and they had countertop, that was all asbestos. We removed all the countertops, that got discarded with the asbestos materials when the asbestos abatement company was here. The custodians removed that, they saved all of the cabinetry. We took it all out, they numbered it, they put it all back in. We have new countertops we put down in there and new sinks, and that will be ready that should be done by the end of next week as well. Okay. Did that.
Do you wanna give an update on the gym floor here?
Yeah, that's on the list too. We received the design for, as you recall, there's an old coal bin at the elementary school that we need to remove that, fill it in, because it's too old to support the heavy traffic that goes over that. I received the design work from that last week. I reviewed it with HEB. Based on our discussions, they made some alterations. I got that back today. I'm looking over that with them. That looks encouraging. We're going to be using the existing manhole entries to help fill that in. But once the design work is complete, we can put that out for vendors to bid on, so that we can get a cost to see what that will be. That's the next step in that, getting costs, and then we have to look at raising the money, finding the money to get it done. We got in the gym. The insurance company and New England Sports Floors agreed on a price. And we're on the docket to have a new gym floor installed as soon as school gets out next spring. They'll start that right after we close the doors. Then we'll get a new gym floor. We're gonna keep the existing floor through this winter season. That's about where we're at with that.
Due to that water damage from the
Right.
road project.
The elevator jack replacement here at the high school, I received a quote from Stanley Elevator Company and a quote from Pine State Elevator Company. They're very detailed. There is substantial difference in price between the two. Both of them are within our capital improvement budget for this work. There are unknowns that could occur. One company, which is less, would leave us enough buffer monies to help mitigate any unsuspecting things that might come up when the project goes along. They're not as detailed in their quote as the higher priced quote, so I need to make sure that we call back, we get our questions answered so that, we're doing the comparison, apples to apples, in what we're getting for the money we're spending. But as soon as we can get that straightened out, so